Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. West Asia on edge as Israel weighs response after Iran missile barrage. The US says it will not take part in any Israeli retaliation against Iran. Israel and Iran trade charges in the United Nations Security Council, call for sanctions against each other. UN chief urges maximum restraint. India's Minister of External Affairs speaks to the foreign ministers of Israel and Iran, discusses West Asia situation, seeks safe release of 17 Indian sailors on board a ship seized by the Iranian military. And campaigning for phase 1 of India's election in full swing, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses a rally in the southern state of Kerala. Tensions continue to rise in West Asia as Israel maintains its high alert in the aftermath of the 13th April attack by Iran. Global leaders have criticized the Iranian attack and urged Israel to show restraint.
A massive barrage of missiles and drones launched from Iran towards Israel on 13th April. It pushed the Middle East further into the brink of a potentially catastrophic regional showdown. Israel remains on high alert. IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari said that Israel's critical mission in Gaza remained the rescue of all its hostages still held by Hamas.
Even while under attack from Iran, we have not lost sight, not for one moment, of our critical mission in Gaza, to rescue our hostages from the hands of Iran's proxies Hamas, of our moral duty to do everything in our power to bring 133 hostages back home.
US President Joe Biden said that Israel demonstrated a remarkable capacity to defend against and defeat even the unprecedented attacks, but also cautioned that Washington would not participate in an Israeli counter-offensive against Iran. This comes as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's war cabinet favored retaliation to the Iranian attack in a meeting convened on Sunday. However, the officials were divided over the timing and scale of any such response. The European Commission and G7 leaders condemned Iran's strike, demanding a complete cessation of attacks and urging an end to the Gaza crisis.
We expressed our solidarity and support to the people of Israel and reaffirmed our unshakable commitment towards its security. Iran's actions risk provoking an uncontrollable regional escalation, and this has to be avoided. We will continue to work to stabilize the situation. We call on Iran and its proxies to cease completely the attacks. All parties should exercise maximum restraint. We also discussed the need to end the crisis in Gaza as soon as possible.
We condemned, we intervened, and today we will do all we can to avoid things flaring up or escalating, and therefore try to convince Israel that we must not respond by escalating, but rather isolate Iran, succeed in convincing the countries of the region that Iran is a danger, increase sanctions, increase pressure on nuclear activities, and then find a path to peace in the region.
India has also pressed for immediate de-escalation. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar engaged in discussions with both Israeli and Iranian counterparts, expressing India's concerns over the evolving situation. The Iranian assault on Israel reverberated in the Asian markets, causing share slumps and gold price spikes amid apprehensions of a broader regional conflict.
And Alex Carrier joins us from Tel Aviv. Alex, how would you describe the mood in Israel's war cabinet? Is it divided on whether Israel should respond to Iran?
Yes, in a word. Well, they're not divided, so to clarify, they're not divided on whether or not they should respond. They are divided on exactly how to do so and when to do so. So for now, we had details from that War Cabinet meeting yesterday that they are divided on exactly the scale and the timing of the response. But in just over 2 hours, they will meet again to try and flesh out exactly what that response will be. We're hearing calls from the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations for the world to wake up to the fact, as he described it, that Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, and he wants to see a very strong response from the international community to Iran after that attack. More than 300 drones, missiles flying through the sky towards Israel, intercepted by a coalition of the United States, France, the Royal Air Force from the UK, and the Royal Jordanian Air Force, as well as the Israeli armed forces intercepting the vast majority of those missiles. We know that there was damage to a military airbase in the south of Israel, and very tragically, a 7-year-old Bedouin girl still in critical condition as we speak, having been hit in the head by shrapnel linked to these Iranian strikes. So currently we are waiting to see what that decision. We know that Prime Minister Netanyahu had been pushing for a measured response, and the defense minister has said that he wants to see this as an opportunity to build a regional alliance against Iran. Exactly how they strike back, how they respond, we'll have to wait a few hours to see exactly what that'll be.
Right, Alex, as you said, it's a matter of when and how more than anything else. But that said, what are Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's options here really, now that the US says that it will not take part in any Israeli response to Iran?
Well, the options are a direct military strike against Iranian territory. That's what all of Israel's allies are warning against, as is the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, as we've just heard. So clearly that would be deemed the more extreme option. Then there is a military option against Iran's proxies, Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Perhaps that would be a way for Israel to retaliate without escalating this into an all-out war between two nuclear-capable countries, Israel and Iran. There is also the option to go for much more diplomatic pressure, building a coalition of countries in the region who are certainly not fans of Iran. You think of Saudi Arabia, you think of Jordan, countries that have interests in limiting Iran's power and influence in the region, building that coalition to further isolate Iran, further weaken Iran's military capabilities and economy without striking directly. Those two last options, fighting the proxy groups and going for a diplomatic option, would be seen as de-escalation, but there is appetite in Israeli politics for a disproportionate military response against Iran. We heard National Security Itamar Ben-Gvir calling for that. He is not in the war cabinet, and ultimately they will be the ones making this decision.
Alex, thank you for now. Appreciate it. The US Central Command said on Monday that its forces destroyed more than 80 drones and at least 6 ballistic missiles aimed at Israel from Iran and Yemen over the weekend. US President Joe Biden thanked US fighter squadrons that helped defend Israel from the Iranian attacks. In a video posted on social media platform X on Sunday, Biden hailed the US fighter squadrons as quote-unquote incredible.
Hey, you guys are the best in the whole damn world, man. The whole world. I'm sure. No, that's not hyperbole, man. Both these squadrons. You're incredible. Absolutely incredible. You made an enormous difference, potentially saving a lot of lives, and thanks to extraordinary skill, the United States helped Israel take down nearly all those incoming missiles. You're remarkable.
Meanwhile, diplomats at the UN Security Council have called for restraint following Iran's drone attack on Israel on Saturday. The council met for an emergency meeting on Sunday, with members fearing a full-blown spillover of the conflict in the region. DD India's Jody Jacobs has more from New York City.
It was a tense UN Security Council meeting, and with the UN Secretary General present, an indication perhaps that this matter is of international importance, and the fear of a full-blown conflict in that region is now real. Antonio Guterres has called for calm, saying that the world does not need another war.
The Middle East is on the brink. The people of the region are confronting a real danger of a devastating full-scale conflict. Now is the time to defuse and de-escalate. Now is the time for maximum restraint.
Israel, who called for the meeting, said Iran had crossed every red line and it reserves the right to retaliate.
This attack crossed every red line, and Israel reserves the legal right to retaliate. We are not a frog in boiling water. We are a nation of lions. Following such a massive and direct attack on Israel, the entire world, let alone Israel, cannot settle for inaction. We will defend our future.
It's called on the Council to take severe action against Iran. But it was Russia's ambassador that called his Western colleagues hypocritical and of having double standards. The US maintains that it continues to fully support Israel's right to defend itself and will in the coming days explore additional measures to hold Iran accountable. There was a direct message from Iran directed at the United States, warning that should Washington initiate any form of military operations against it, it will use its inherent right to respond proportionately.
Iran's operation was entirely in the exercise of Iran's inherent right to self-defense as outlined in Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations and recognized by international law. This concluded action was necessary and proportionate. It was precise and only targeted military objectives and carried out carefully to minimize the potential for escalation and prevent civilian harm.
The Council is yet to decide on what actions it will take, but this latest developments will most likely remain on its agenda this week. Jody Jacobs at the United Nations, reporting for DD India.
All right, moving on from one conflict to another. In the latest on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia on Sunday hit several Ukrainian military targets that included air defense systems and munition depots, while Ukraine attacked positions of Russian soldiers and military equipment the same day. The Russian army repelled multiple attacks by the Ukrainian army in Donetsk, Kherson, Kupiansk and other directions. Russian air defense systems also intercepted Ukrainian rockets, aerial bombs and drones. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that his country needed help from its allies to repel threats from the air, just as Israel did against Iran's attack. Zelensky reiterated his call for the US Congress to approve a vital aid package that has been blocked by political unrest.
And the fact that sanctions against Russia are still being circumvented, and the fact that we in Ukraine have been waiting months for a vital support package, the fact that we are still waiting for a vote in Congress, testifies to the fact that the confidence of terrorists has also been growing for months. You can't waste any more time. It is necessary to really protect life wherever there is a terrorist threat to it.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. The United Nations calls for greater humanitarian assistance for the people fleeing Sudan violence. Donald Trump expected to appear in a court in the first criminal trial of a sitting or former US president. And an earthquake of 6.2 magnitude strikes the southern Pacific island nation of Papua New Guinea.
As a cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. The Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. The United Nations has called for greater humanitarian assistance to aid refugees and displaced people fleeing Sudan after the war between Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. The UN has urged the international community to ensure that the conflict in Sudan does not become a neglected crisis. The UN entity dedicated to gender equality has furthermore called for immediate steps to protect women and girls, support their economic empowerment, and include them in peace negotiations and decision-making. Despite the magnitude of this crisis, the UN Refugee Agency UNHCR says funding is critically low and threatens aid deliveries. As per UNHCR, it will need $284.5 million to respond to the crisis in South Sudan and has only received 18% of that funding. Now, it's been a year since the conflict in Sudan erupted. Top diplomats from France, Germany and the European Union are meeting in Paris on Monday to mark its first anniversary. The war in Sudan broke out on 15th April 2023 between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary called Rapid Support Forces. It devastated the country's infrastructure, prompting warnings of famine and displacing millions of people inside and outside the country. The agenda for the meeting would be to push for more funding for Sudan. France's Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné will be joined by his German counterpart Annalena Baerbock, top EU diplomat Josep Borrell and the EU's Commissioner for Crisis Management Janusz Lenarčič at the Paris get-together. And joining me is Naba Mohieddin. Naba, how bad is the situation 1 year on?
The situation is very bad, especially after 1 year of war. We can say the war devastated the life of millions of Sudanese here. Over 25 million Sudanese people are in dire need of food, and that was a result of this devastating war. There is over 18 people are in a very bad hunger or hunger crisis levels, and the war is covering almost 60% of the Sudanese lands. So the situation is really bad, and it's getting worse every month. And there is no even resolution in sight after all of efforts to contain this war and to stop this war between the warring parties have so far failed. So people are starving, children are dying of starvation, all of the trade routes were cut off and exports were slowed down. So Sudanese economy, humanitarian situation, health situation, and of course security situation is very bad after 12 months of intense fighting in Khartoum, the capital, Darfur, Kordofan, Al Jazeera State, Central Sudan, and parts of White Nile State.
Naba, do you think the Paris conference will make a difference?
Of course, it will make.
Apologies for that interruption. We'll try to reconnect with Naba Mohieddin in Sudan, if we can later on the broadcast. Moving on for now. The first ever criminal trial of a former US president is due to get underway on Monday, with Donald Trump facing fraud charges in New York City. The case revolves around hush money payments he allegedly made to an adult star to cover up an affair. Trump denies the charges, but the trial could have a major impact on Trump's re-election bid, as DD India's US correspondent Nick Harper reports.
A lot at stake here for the former US President Donald Trump. This case relates to a payment of $130,000 that was allegedly paid to the Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election. That payment was made to try and keep quiet about an affair that had taken place between Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump, an affair that Donald Trump allegedly now wanted to keep quiet at a time when he was running for president in 2016. Donald Trump denies both the affair and the payment. Now, he's been trying to delay this, and we've seen various last-ditch attempts to push back the case indefinitely. However, a judge has ruled that out, and it will begin later on Monday. It means for the next 6 weeks or so, Donald Trump will not be on the campaign trail. Instead, he'll have to be in court every single day. The likelihood is that he may try and use that as an opportunity to rally as part of his re-election campaign. He could speak to reporters and supporters outside court each day, either before that day's proceedings or after they have concluded. But it does mean that he won't be able to hold the large-scale rallies that he favours as a result of the need for him to be in New York City for this trial each day. Now, on Monday, we will see jury selection. That could take several weeks. Remember, they will be looking for 12 impartial jurors who feel that they can give Donald Trump a fair trial. There is a possibility that Donald Trump will testify for himself during the course of this trial. It's something that he's suggested that he wants to do. However, undoubtedly his lawyers would probably persuade him not to, as it could open him up to a whole raft of questions. This trial in New York, revolving around these hush money payments, is just one of 4 criminal trials that the former president is facing. However, it may be the only one that comes to trial before November's election. The other 3 all facing substantial delays. In Washington, Nick Harper reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, US former President Donald Trump says he will be fighting for himself, but more importantly, he shall be fighting for his country. On the eve of his New York City trial, Trump posted the statement on social media platform Truth Social. He said election interference like this has never happened in the US before and hopefully will never happen again. The government of the Australian state of New South Wales has said that it will fund an independent inquiry into the attack in Sydney's Westfield Bondi Junction Mall, which killed 6 people. The attacker was shot dead by a lone woman police officer who confronted him solo while he was on the rampage. Police said that the attacker had mental health issues in the past and that there was no indication ideology was a motive. Meanwhile, New South Wales Premier Chris Minns ruled out any change in rules that would allow private security guards to carry.
Up to $18 million will be immediately forwarded to the Coroner's Office in New South Wales to establish an independent coronial inquiry with full staff and resources. So I've asked for an independent report on the current restrictions in relation to security guards at major crowded centres, in particular shopping centres and hospitals. Up to $18 million will be immediately forwarded to the Coroner's Office in New South Wales to establish an independent coronial inquiry with full staff and resources. So I've asked for an independent report on the current restrictions in relation to security guards at major crowded centres, in particular shopping centres and hospitals.
More than 13,000 people have been evacuated in Russia's Kurgan region because of floods, both from the already flooded areas and from those at risk of more flooding. More than 107,000 people have been evacuated in the country since the beginning of the floods. The governor of Russia's Kurgan region urged people to evacuate flooded areas, saying that rain was worsening the already tough situation there. Russia's Emergencies Ministry said that more than 14,000 houses across Russia have been flooded. As the waters have maintained a sharp rise, flooding is expected to peak on Monday in the Kurgan region, straddling the Tobol River near the border with Kazakhstan. An earthquake of magnitude 6.2 struck New Britain region in Papua New Guinea on Monday. No threat of tsunami was reported. The earthquake was at a depth of 79 kilometers, the German Research Center for Geosciences said. Papua New Guinea sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, the arc of seismic faults around the Pacific Ocean, where much of the world's earthquake and volcanic activity occurs. And now take a look at some more stories making news around the world. According to the Brazilian Federal Prosecutor's Office and Para-State's Federal Police, investigations will be opened for a boat found with decomposed bodies. So far, any detail about the cause and victims is not known. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has donated equipment and supplies to the Nigeria's Center for Disease Control and Prevention to support its outbreak response laboratory activities. These labs are working to quickly detect disease threats and confirm cases that include the ongoing responses to Lassa fever, diphtheria, meningitis, and other diseases. Malaysia strongly urges all parties in West Asia region to refrain and exercise great caution not to escalate an already tense situation. According to the country's Foreign Minister Mohammed Hassan, any further form of provocation and or retaliation could ignite a devastating region-wide conflict that will not serve the region nor the Palestinian cause. Women in the U.S. state of Arizona protested against a decision from the state's highest court that revived a 160-year-old abortion ban. The Arizona court's decision has thrust abortion back to the forefront of the presidential campaign between the Democrats and the Republicans. And still to come on DD India News Hour. A deep dive into the Israel-Iran tensions and what it means for the region and the world at large. G7 leaders hold a virtual summit, condemn Iran, warn of risk of escalation. And an election special from the lone parliamentary seat in Nagaland that goes to the polls this week.
bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. West Asia on edge as Israel weighs response after Iran missile barrage. The US says it will not take part in any Israeli retaliation against Iran. And India's Minister of External Affairs speaks to the foreign ministers of Israel and Iran, discusses West Asia situation, seeks safe release of 17 Indian sailors on board a ship seized by the Iranian military. And campaigning for phase 1 of India's election in full swing, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses a rally in the southern state of Kerala. Condemning Iran's unprecedented attack against Israel, US President Joe Biden has pledged a coordinated G7 diplomatic response to the drone and missile attacks. G7 leaders held a video meeting to debate Iran's attack on Israel. Italy's Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said he hoped that the Israeli government shows restraint in its response. Iran launched more than 300 drones and missiles at Israel overnight, which Tehran said was in response to the 1st April strike on its consulate in Syria. The latest attacks have raised the threat of a wider regional escalation. And staying on the top story, the Israel-Iran tensions, Dr. Deepika Saras joins us from New Delhi. Dr. Saras is an associate fellow at the Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defence Studies and Analyses. It's a state-funded think tank headquartered in India's capital, New Delhi. Dr. Saras, welcome to DD India News Hour. Now, before that, if I just also brief viewers about her interests. It includes Iran's geopolitics in West Asia and Eurasia as well. Dr. Saraswat, what were Iran's objectives and did it achieve them?
Well, as you mentioned, that the attacks were a retaliation against the Israeli targeting of Quds Force commanders in Iran's the diplomatic enclave in Damascus. So the attack came 2 weeks after, the retaliatory attack came 2 weeks later. So clearly Iran's response was very restrained, and it was about establishing a balance of threat. It was about enforcing its red lines. It was about deterring further attacks like these directly against Iran. So I do imagine that it was intended to just cause minimal damage and to show Iran's deterrence, credible deterrence capabilities. So I think to that extent, Iranians are claiming that they have achieved their goals.
Now, Iran says that it had warned some countries at least 72 hours before attacking Israel. Why is that so, and is it required by international law?
Clearly, this is because Iran does not want to jeopardize the détente that it has been able to have with its Arab neighbors. So when the officials say that the neighbors, Iran's, Arab neighbors had been intimated about the impending attacks, it is clearly to let them know that Iran is not seeking to create a wider regional war or to destabilize the whole region as it is already on the brink of a war. So it was just to show that Iran is not looking to irresponsibly draw the whole region into further escalation. It is just about retaliating against what was seen as a breach of Iranian territorial integrity. It was Iranian sovereign soil in Damascus that was attacked by Israel. So it was supposed to be a limited, calculated response, and so was communicated to Iran's neighbors.
Another question I want to ask you, Dr. Saraswat, why did some Arab countries help Israel? I'm talking specifically about Jordan. Now, Jordan opened its airspace to US and Israeli military aircraft. Also, it shot down some Iranian projectiles that entered its airspace.
Right. So Jordan, as you know, is a treaty ally of the United States. It has a peace agreement or treaty with Israel, and so there is a long-standing defense cooperation between Jordan and the United States. So that's one aspect. Second, the fact that the Iranian projectiles flew over Jordanian airspace, so which sort of gives Jordan the legitimate right to ensure the safety of its own citizens, and that they can argue that rather than supporting defense of Israel, it was basically aimed at ensuring the safety of its own citizen and its own territorial integrity. So the both aspects, I think, are equally relevant, that it being a security ally of the United States and having a kind of a peace treaty with Israel. So that is the context in which Jordan has played this role.
Also, just a few days ago, US President Joe Biden had said that the US government's support to Israel is quote-unquote ironclad. But now the US says it will not join any Israeli response to Iran's missile attack. Why?
Right. So United States, of course, has stood behind Israel as far as the defense part is concerned, when following October 7 Hamas attack. So that much is very evident that the Biden administration has, stood behind Israel completely, and despite all the international criticism. But we have to make a distinction that United States does not want to get drawn in a direct war. It is happy to stand behind Israel, support its military edge and all of that, but at the same time, it does not want to be involved in a direct war involving Iran and its allies. So hence we see that when the Israelis carried out their attack against Iranian consulate on 1st of April, very immediately we see that the American officials making statement that that United States was not informed in advance about the Israeli attacks. So basically making a distinction between what Israel had done and and the U.S. involvement in the same. The simple explanation is that that United States, having fought two unsuccessful wars in the region, I'm talking about Iraq and in Afghanistan, so clearly does not want to get involved in a long-drawn war in any significant way. So despite the ironclad commitment, the distinction is that no, it is not part of any offensive escalatory actions directly aimed at Iran.
Right. And finally, very quickly, Dr. Saraswat, what are India's stakes in the region? How would you compare India's ties with Israel and Iran?
For India, both the countries are very significant. Iran, of course, because of its very crucial geographical location along the Strait of Hormuz, and of course, neighboring Pakistan and Afghanistan. It is a very crucial player in the region, and India has, long-standing ties and understanding with the country, and there is a high-level diplomatic engagement that has continued despite U.S. pressure on Iran and everything. But same goes for Israel. I mean, it's a very crucial defense partner. Relations with Israel have significantly improved in recent decade. So of course, for India, both the countries are important, and it has no reason to get involved in the conflict between them. And it can always play, a role, a stabilizing role to ensure that the region which is so geographically proximate to our own country is not getting further destabilized or get into a war.
Right, we'll leave it at that. Dr. Deepika Saras, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts and insights with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Right, let's now get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. In India, campaigning has gained momentum ahead of his elections 2024. Spearheading the campaign, India's Prime Minister and BJP's senior party leader Narendra Modi is on a visit to the southern states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Addressing a rally at Palakkad in Kerala, Prime Minister Modi said the BJP has released the vision of a Vikas and Virasat for the next 5 years. He also held a roadshow in Alattur in Kerala.
ये चुनाव देश के भविष्य के लिए फैसले लेने का चुनाव है। ये चुनाव आपके उज्जवल भविष्य की गारंटी के लिए चुनाव है। ये चुनाव आपके बच्चों के उज्जवल जीवन के लिए गारंटी देने का चुनाव है।
Congress leader Rahul Gandhi is also focusing on the southern states of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Gandhi held a roadshow in Wayanad from where he is contesting. India's Home Minister and senior BJP leader Amit Shah is in the country's northeastern states of Tripura and Manipur, where he is holding public rallies. Later in the evening, Minister Shah will hold a roadshow in the northwestern state of Rajasthan, while Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held a public rally in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. BJP National President JP Nadda held a public rally at Mussoorie in the northern state of Uttarakhand. The opposition Congress Party's President Mallikarjun Kharge will be campaigning at Puducherry in support of the Puducherry Lok Sabha candidate V. Vaidilingam, while another Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra will hold a roadshow in the city of Alwar in Rajasthan. BSP chief Mayawati held a public meeting at Moradabad in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh. The Lok Sabha constituency of Nagaland in the northeastern state of India will witness an election during the phase 1 of the Lok Sabha election. Renowned for its scenic tourist spots, Nagaland grapples with various issues, setting the stage for an intriguing electoral battle.
Nestled in India's northeast part, Nagaland holds a singular Lok Sabha constituency. Scheduled for election on April 19th, Nagaland's solitary Lok Sabha election coincides with the early phase of the general election. In 2019 polls, the National Democratic Progressive Party or NDPP-BJP coalition clinched victory over the Indian National Congress. Now, Nagaland comprises of 16 administrative districts inhabited by 17 major tribes and various sub-tribes, each distinguished by unique customs, language and attire. Agriculture serves as...
And Tapas joins us from Nagaland for more. Tapas, how's the election campaign coming along in Nagaland?
Right, so if you compare it with the assembly election which just happened last year, you will find that it's not that gung-ho that it used to be, but yes, there is a lot of excitement in this part of the country, and I'm right now in Kohima. Although it is not as if I have to use the term, colorful in other parts of the country. People here are quite quiet in terms of expressing their views, but they are looking forward to the April 19th election. It's a lone seat, a lone Lok Sabha seat that will go into the polls on April 19th, and people are excited. And there's a tri-party battle that we are expecting, the triangular battle that we are expecting in the state. So both Congress, the BJP as well as an independent are in the fray, and one is hoping that the people will be coming out in large number once again. Remember the last time the election took place, it was more than 85% people who have turned out for the voting to cast their vote, and one expects the same thing to happen in this election also. Just to put it in perspective, Congress has SS Jamid. He is a stalwart and a former MLA of Congress. He will be taking part in the election. Then there is Dr. Chumbin Muri, who is also is going to be face of the NDPP and BJP alliance. BJP has actually supported NDPP's candidates. So it's basically both the parties are coming out with the same name.
Right.
Then there is Haitung Tunga Lota, is an independent candidate. So the three will be gunning for glory in this lone Lok Sabha seat. But again, as I mentioned, it has to be seen how things work out, especially given the fact that 6 of the district in the eastern part of Nagaland have called for abstaining during this particular Lok Sabha election.
Right, we'll leave it at that. Tapas Bhattacharya in Nagaland. Thank you, appreciate it. Moving on, from the tea city of India, Dibrugarh in Assam, DD India's team of correspondents delve into the political dynamics of this vibrant region. It's an exclusive report by DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh.
Amidst the hustle and bustle of election campaigning and coverage, who wouldn't like a tea break? What is special about this cup of chai is that I'm standing next to the garden where it is produced. We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India. Welcome to Dibrugarh. The sprawling tea gardens of Dibrugarh and adjoining districts produce some of the finest tea in the world. While tea cultivation is a backbone of the region's economy, the voice of 7 million strong tea workers community traditionally constitutes an important political force in the state.
আমার বগানত রাস্তাও মানে বেয়া আছে, কেতিয়াবা ৰাতি ওলাই আহিলে আমি বগান দিয়ে বগান হাসপাতাল লৈ যাব লগিয়া হয় বেমাৰী হলে, মানে পেশেন্ট ওলালে। তো ৰাস্তাবোৰ আমাৰ ভাল নহয়, এটোৱে আমাক লাগে ৰাস্তাটো ঠিক কৰি দিলে আমাৰ ওচৰতে হাসপাতাল আছে, পেশেন্টক লৈ যাব কাৰণে ভাল হ'ব।
The northeastern state of Assam is going into polls in 3 phases. Dibrugarh, along with 4 other districts, Kaziranga, Sonitpur, Lakhimpur and Jorhat are part of the Upper Assam region and will vote in the first phase of elections on April 19th. Assam has 14 Lok Sabha seats, the highest in any northeastern state. Once a Congress stronghold in the northeast, it is the BJP that has fortified its presence in Assam. Led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in 2014, BJP scored 7 out of 14 seats. In 2019, it improved its score to 9 seats out of 14. This is 2024. Can the Congress alliance lead a fight back, or will the Modi juggernaut be unstoppable? Only voters can decide. Traveling through Dibrugarh, we catch a glimpse of the beauty of rural Assam. Young boys and girls practicing traditional Bihu dance on the banks of mighty Brahmaputra. Campaigning for the first phase of elections in Assam is coinciding with Bohag Bihu festivities. The harvest festival marks the advent of the Assamese New Year. While the festival of democracy determines the future of the region and the nation, these youngsters immersed in Bihu celebrations also know how to make the most of their present. With camera person Kumar Datta, Shubhendu Ghosh, DD India, Dibrugarh.
Former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister and Democratic Progressive Azad Party Chief Gulam Nabi Azad held a poll rally in Jammu and Kashmir's Doda. Voting in Jammu and Kashmir will be held in 5 phases and the counting of votes will take place on the 4th of June. The party chief said that his party aims to work for the people.
What is the agenda of your party and what are the issues you are taking to government?
I'm sure that my colleagues, if they get entry in the Lok Sabha, they will be most effective and they will represent the state in a much better way in comparison to the other political parties who have been representing the state for quite long.
You have a new party, but there are big stakeholders, big alliances. So, do you feel any challenge?
No challenge. We have the example of Apni party. One government employee came, so Congress was in power both in the state and center. And out of 70 seats, he defeated both the national parties, Congress and BJP. So I think Congress got 0, having ruled the state, Delhi state, for 15 years and getting 0, even defeating the chief minister. So we have the example. If the people want the change, they can throw anybody out.
What is your assurance to the people if you come to power?
I have said a number of times that I want my people in the parliament as effective, rather more effective than I was in the parliament in 40 years.
In a briefing, Congress's General Secretary in charge of communications, Jairam Ramesh, said that their party is ready to contest and their campaign is based on the 5 pillars of justice.
उम्मीदवार मजबूती से लड़ रहे हैं। हमारा प्रचार सभी जगहों में सही ढंग से चल रहा है।
Nationalist Congress Party leader and former Union Minister of India, Prasar Patel, has also spoken about the election campaign. Let's take a listen.
The first phase election is around the corner here. Obviously, the NDA and the India Alliance is at the loggerhead, and obviously we have seen here that a lot of talks has been done so far from the public rallies here. Right now we have with us one of the key allies of the NDA. Earlier he was also part of the then UP Alliance, and now with the NDA also. How do you see the NDA's nara of 400 plus seats?
Well, I think there is no difficulty in achieving that number. It's not just a nara. The nara is based on performance. The nara is based on the work of and the image and the popularity of Prime Minister Narendra Modi also. Spontaneity is the important part. And the spontaneity, the kind of, you see, the public support when the leaders of NDA speak or BJP speak, that creates a different, kind of environment in the people's mind.
While addressing a BJP press conference in India's IT hub of Bengaluru, India's Minister of External Affairs Subramaniam Jaishankar said the manufacturing sector has been neglected until 2014, but a lot has been done till today to increase manufacturing sales.
There is a commitment to increase manufacturing, because I think many of you know that from the time our reform started in the 1990s till 2014, till Narendra Modi became Prime Minister, actually manufacturing was neglected. And today we have done a lot to increase the scale of manufacturing in this country. And we want to ensure that India becomes an electronics hub, it becomes a defense hub, it becomes a semiconductor hub, it becomes a space hub. We see in auto and electric vehicles. So this whole manufacturing, particularly sunrise sectors.
India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar attended the valediction ceremony of the 76th batch of the Indian Revenue Service at the National Academy of Direct Taxes in Nagpur. Addressing the event, the Vice President said that the country's tax system has been transformed from tax collectors to tax facilitators. He said the Indian Revenue Service plays a pivotal role as the custodian of the country's taxation system. He said that the world is changing at an incredible speed.
Indian Revenue Service is unique, has its own position. It is being rivaled by others. It has a pivotal role as the custodian of our taxation system, because democracy is being driven by economic strength, and you are integrally connected with that.
And now to all the news from the world of sport with my colleague Deepika Mehto. Deepika, take it away.
Thanks and good afternoon. We've got the biggest news for all the sporting fans from the world of soccer today. Well, Bayer Leverkusen clinched its first ever Bundesliga title on Sunday, ending Bayern Munich's streak of 11 consecutive championships following a commanding 5-0 victory over Werder Bremen. Our next report tells you more.
Xabi Alonso and his men have scripted history as Bayer Leverkusen won their first Bundesliga title with a thumping 5-0 win over SV Werder Bremen. Leverkusen ended the 11-year stranglehold on the league by Bayern Munich, who have been winning the title continuously since 2012. Under coach Xabi Alonso's guidance, Leverkusen are currently on a league record 29 matches without defeat this season. Alonso was completely thrilled with the first ever Bundesliga title.
To finally say that Leverkusen are German champions is a great honor. For everything totally deserved. For this team, these fans, this club. Not only this team, but also these coaches, the players, the directors of the past. They have fought a lot for this title.
Bayer Leverkusen's Florian Wirtz and Victor Boniface are the joint most goal scorers for them this season with 11 each. Wirtz netted a brilliant hat-trick in the game to make sure the home team and fans don't wait for another match to enjoy the league triumph. A 30,000-strong home crowd erupted into wild celebrations of chants and cheers inside the stadium, enjoying the festivities as Leverkusen won the long-awaited title.
I can still remember 20 years ago when I was a little boy sitting in front of the TV with my brothers, and we lost every final. And now we have won our first final. It's indescribable. You can't describe it. It's like a dream, not even tangible for me yet. Now we have become champions in the Bundesliga.
The 5-0 win has stretched their unbeaten run across all competitions to a remarkable 43 games this season. Leverkusen are, however, far from done this season. They have reached the German Cup final and taken a 2-0 first-leg lead in their Europa League quarter-final against West Ham United. Sports Desk, DD India.
In Premier League, Liverpool's title hopes suffered a huge blow as they were beaten by 1-0 at Anfield by Crystal Palace. The Reds missed the chance to return to the top of the Premier League points table as Palace's first half strike gave the visitors a much-needed victory to move them 8 points clear of the relegation zone. On to IPL now. Royal Challengers Bengaluru will take on Sunrisers Hyderabad in match number 30 of the Indian Premier League season today in Bengaluru. Faf du Plessis led RCB are languishing at the bottom of the points table with just 1 victory and 5 losses from 6 matches. So that was a very quick wrap from the world of sports. Back to you.
Thank you, Deepika. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.